Hi guys, welcome to episode 23 of Get Your Buzz On. I have special guest
Claudia Yagl
with
Yagl Therapy Services.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you're able to come. I got a bottle of La Vostra. I love this bottle. It's so good. They have it at Total Wines. Have you been to Total Wines?
I haven't.
Girl.
Where is it?
Oh my God, it's where the fountain is. That place, I have my rewards. I have my points. I'm there I'm a frequent shopper.
Oh, there you go.
But they've got so much good product, and then, for example, I'll go and I'll say, hey, I'm looking for a good Prosecco, or I'm looking for a good champagne. And they'll ask me, okay, what do you like? And so then they'll get me different ones that I would never try unless they recommended it. And a lot of times it's less than what I usually get.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm like, it works out perfect. So
here we go.
However, we might have a little bit of a technical difficulty. All right.
You're going to have a shower?
Yeah, let's see how this goes. This is perfectly chilled. We'll see. Oh, thank God. I was like, we'll see how it goes. Are you a champagne?
I am.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
My type of girl. So how have you been? How is business? And we'll get to the nitty gritty, but first we got to have a sip because Mama needs some champagne. It has been a long ass week. So here you go.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's delicious. That's one of my
That's
favorites.
really good.
I'm like, I told you, you have to go to Total Wines and get your
I will.
hookup.
I usually go to Specs, but now I'm like, hey,
No,
I gotta
well,
go.
I love Specs. It's like when I tier it, it's like
Yeah.
Western Beverage, Specs, Total Wines.
Okay.
Like,
I'm gonna have to go
a
now.
mall. It's literally like, oh.
Well, and I like that they kind of branch you out. Like you kind of tell them what you like, and then they're like, try this.
Well, and I like that they are knowledgeable about whatever vodka or whatever. They have a specialist for everything, so it makes you like, oh, okay, cool. They know what they're talking about, and you end up spending more because you're just like, okay, well, I've never tried this. I want to try this out.
Right,
so,
right.
Highly recommend it.
All right.
So I wanted to. So what is your business called again? I'm sorry.
It's Yagl Therapy Services.
And what do you guys do?
So we're a home health company, and we specialize in pediatrics. We have occupational therapists, speech therapists, and physical therapists that do, therapies on the kiddos with disabilities, with injuries, things like that.
And how long have you been doing that?
Well, I've been a therapist for almost 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I branched out doing my own business. This is probably I'm going on my 4th year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how has that been with COVID and everything?
Oh, COVID. We're very blessed because we are an essential business. Just because COVID hit doesn't mean that the kids don't have their disabilities and don't need their services. So I think our biggest hurdle was in March when everything hit. We had to find a safer way for the therapists to do the therapies. Instead of going into the homes, we worked with our partners, the insurance companies, and we got approval for telehealth. So, telehealth works for, say, 85-90% of the kids. And now we're able to get the parents more involved, and we kind of give them a list of things that we're going to work on, and the parents, basically on their side with Zoom, they're doing the therapies with us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How hard was that transitioning from there?
Very hard. I have about 30 employees.
Yeah.
So I have some new therapists who are like, wait, we weren't taught, and I'm like, I'm going on my 10th year, and I wasn't taught telehealth, so it was new for all of us. We just right away we look for resources. We go to, our boards and things like that to get information on, what works, what doesn't work, what platforms can we use with HIPAA, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and then the thing too is that you're dealing with different types of children. So some children don't learn, or it's hard for them to pay attention. So.
Absolutely. You have kids with ADHD, so it's like, you almost feel like you're on the other side, like, hey, and come back. And then, sometimes you can put silly backgrounds and stuff, and it kind of catches their attention, and they come back. But now that we're kind of, reopening, we do have maybe 10-15% that we put on hold because telehealth just wasn't right for them.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to do them a disservice. So now we have some therapists that's like, okay, we have all the PPE. So, you have your mask, you have your gloves, you have your hand sanitizer, go into the home and do the therapies.
How did that change with the kids, did you see them go back a lot because they didn't have that one-on-one attention, or?
The regression, we did see a little bit. I mean, sometimes the parents too, I mean, as parents with a kid with disabilities or not, we're all a little bit overwhelmed just trying to figure everything out as well. So, some of the parents just weren't able to do, the exercises or the therapies with the kids consistently like they were receiving before COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. Because especially, and like I said, I'm not an expert, but from what I know, like autistic kids, for example, they're very routine.
Yes.
So if you take them off of their routine, they're like, they don't understand what's going on, or they're not used to it. It's very difficult.
It's very difficult. And, speaking about the kiddos with autism, I mean, 10 years ago, I probably had maybe a quarter of my caseload had, kiddos with autism. Nowadays, it's, half of my caseload or more have that diagnosis. So I got my certificate in being a specialist in autism because our communities we lack a lot of resources for PDs.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but just trying to be able to provide good services for the community.
Well, and they and it's crazy that you say that, because when my son was 18 months, they had said, well, he needed speech therapy because he wasn't getting he wasn't saying enough words. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I didn't notice any of that stuff, and then they signed me up for the speech therapy and everything for him. But he was so young, he didn't really understand, and then he was the only child, the first child. So then one of my friends was like, just put him in school. I talked to the pediatrician. The pediatrician's like, I've seen tons of kids with autism. He's fine. Mm-hmm. You just need to put him in a place where he's around other kids. So I did that, put him in school, and thank God that's all it was. But it's crazy because what I noticed from that whole experience is that we didn't really have any resources that, besides the El Paso del Norte Foundation, mm-hmm. we really don't have that many resources for kids with autism or a lot of special needs.
Right.
And they don't have, because you have to have a specialist, a therapist, and a psychologist to go through all that process with them, and they don't really have that many people here in El Paso.
Yeah, unfortunately we don't. We're kind of unique with our home health license. Typically when people look up home health, they think it's adults.
Yeah.
And we're one of the few that we do pediatrics, and we just specialize in pediatrics, but we don't have a ton of resources. There's also a misconception that, if the children are under 3, they have to go to ECI. Some kids need more services, and they're able to go with private companies as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how would you go about with parents that have children that they want to look into your all services? Where do you guys have your website or Facebook?
We do have our website, so it's yagltherapy.com. We're on Facebook, and then we recently launched on Instagram.
Okay.
There's, you have the contact button, call us. Someone will get back to you within 24 hours. But typically, if you have some concerns, we do need the referral from the pediatrician.
Okay.
So, you go to your pediatrician and say, hey, my son's, a year and a half and isn't walking. Then the physician will do a referral, and then they'll send it out. And if they want to come with us, they're, more than welcome.
So what makes you guys so different from ECI and?
Their model's different. So they do, from what I understand, they do more of a educational teaching the parent model, and I think that their frequency is a lot less than with us.
Oh yeah, with me it was like they wanted me to do once a week.
Okay.
And I'm like, once a week for 30 minutes isn't,
mm-hmm.
for a toddler, they're not gonna.
Right.
It just takes them to get used to people and all that stuff. So
yes.
it was hard when I was starting to do that, and then for me, I had a huge problem with that.
You're like,
to be honest,
what are you guys gonna do?
Well, and then they did like a 4-hour synopsis of my son, and then that was the
questionnaire
whole
and history.
Yes. And then they're like, well, he's not doing this. Well, he's not doing that. Well, he's not doing that.
And you're like, I kind of knew that.
And then it was like, then they alluded to autism. So then, I'm a new mom. I'm going through all this
stuff. So you're kind of freaking out.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not the type of person that I dig my head in the sand. I figure it out. Let's get.
So let me guess, you Googled, right?
I Googled. we went to the best doctors, and for them to all look at me like I was an alien and all that. But it really pissed me off too, because I'm like, you guys, you're dealing with parents, especially firstborn kids, and they want to do whatever they can. And if you put all these things in their head, they're going to do it. So I did have a sour taste in my mouth. I'm like,
see you later. I'm putting my kid in school.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm done. And it wasn't even the school that said anything. It was just the one therapist that had done the evaluation. And then come to find out now, I'm like, now with my second kid, I just didn't realize he wasn't comfortable with her. They didn't know that he didn't know it. He was the only child. Like, there was so many little entities that I had no idea. But it was definitely hilarious.
Well, I'm sorry.
Experience.
I'm sorry it was a bad experience. No, typically with us, just depending on now that I have, more staff, we're kind of zoned in areas and we see who has availability, things like that. But, if there's a Spanish-speaking family, we really try to put, Spanish-speaking therapist. Communications is such there's a lot lost in communication sometimes, so we want to make sure that we do the best services that we can with the kids.
Oh, that's awesome. And what got you in the business?
Well, my grandfather had Parkinson's when I was younger, before he passed, and I saw these therapists come into the home, and I was like, gosh, like, they're really making a difference. So I think that's what kind of pushed me to become a therapist. A couple years ago, they had some cuts, like some Medicaid cuts. And so I'm a single mom, and, I couldn't really afford my lifestyle with the cuts. So I'm like, well, I've always had this knack for business, so might as well do it now.
Yeah.
So I took a leap of faith, and I've been very blessed. The community's been very great to us. Like, I'm very thankful.
And where'd you go to school here, or?
So I went to Eastwood. I graduated from here. Then I moved to Dallas. My undergraduate's from UT Arlington. And then I moved back here in '09, and I went to UTEP to get my master's.
Dallas is awesome. How did you like that?
I loved it. There's always something to do every weekend.
Yeah.
You go to all these different suburbs, and there was always something to do.
Just the humidity, that's the only thing
I know. But I do love all the different cultures.
Yeah, they do. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law live out there, and it is a beautiful city. It's like
it's so green, and the lakes, and
it's just the humidity with this hair and traffic.
Oh,
like,
and you almost feel it as soon as you land from a flight high. You're like, I can't breathe.
We went one time in June, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I think I was having hot flashes. I thought I smelled the whole time. It was like, I was just always doing this. I'm like, oh, I can't do this. But it is an awesome city to go to.
It is.
It's hands down really
And
cool.
I think it really, I learned a lot. I mean, just moving away from El Paso, and out there I worked for Cook Children's, and so they're like a really well-known hospital in Texas, and I worked with some of the best therapists out there, so it was nice to come back home to bring some of those resources and information back.
Yeah, I highly, what I tell everyone, because I went to school in Indiana, completely different, but I tell anyone with kids that they're looking at college, I say, get them out.
Get out, yeah.
I'm like, they need to, if they want to come back, that's great, but I think that the best thing for them is to go out and see just
explore.
Yeah,
spread your wings, and even if you crash, you can always come back home.
Exactly. Home's always here.
Right.
And so it's just because I feel like with college and all that stuff, it's not really what you learn, but it's the experience, and it's the people you get to meet for college. So that's what I think. Do you still keep in touch with a lot of your college friends?
I do. Just as therapists, sometimes there's this, to do continuing education hours. So it's like, there's this new program, or hey, there's this new course on telemedicine or telehealth now. So we, Facebook's great, social media, all that, to keep in touch with old friends.
Oh yeah, college friends are awesome though, because that's the time in your life when you don't have you're an adult, but
you're not.
Yeah, you don't have the adult responsibilities. I remember being like,
even though you're stressed, right? You're stressed with a $20 electric bill, and now you're like, my electric bill's like $200 now.
And then you get hit with
as a real adult,
like,
what's this?
You're like, no.
Yeah.
So back then, I thought it was very stressful, but the only positive side I will say is that Sundays, I used to hate Sundays in college because I was a big procrastinator, and I'd leave everything for Sunday
night. Yeah.
So now I actually enjoy Sundays, but back then I'd be like, oh no, and I'd be hungover usually or something.
Here comes Monday.
I'm like, let's be honest here. And how old are your kids?
So I have two daughters. Michaela's 8 and Mila's 7.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
they're 15 months apart, and then they get annoyed because everybody's like, "Are they twins?" Because my oldest is a little bit shorter, and my youngest is a little taller, and
You're
you
like,
know,
"No."
I'm like, "No, they're not twins," and now they're like, "No, we're 15 months apart." But they
that's
act
good,
like
though.
twins, you know?
At least they play together. And
Yeah, they
stuff.
do, and that's what I've been telling them. I'm like, guys, like you're blessed. Like there's a lot of kids that are, only children, and they've been probably at home, like cooped up because of COVID. So
And they don't have anyone to fight with.
yeah,
and,
or
like,
play with, or so they learn a lot from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How have they been with all the online schooling and everything?
Well, I asked them. I'm like, well, they go to EPISD, so I was like, they're asking if you guys want to go to school, not go to school, or do like online school or do a
Yeah.
hybrid where you go like a little bit to school and then you do their stuff online. And they're like, we want to go to school, and I'm like, but it's not going to be the same. So I kind of explained to them like,
Yeah.
there's going to probably be these different things, and they're like, well, that doesn't sound like it's going to be fun. So I think we're going to do like the online stuff for the first 6
Yeah.
months and see how that goes.
Well, it just keeps changing though.
I
Like,
know every minute. Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're starting August. No, we're starting September. Then we're going to do this. Then we're going to do
Right.
that. Well, they're starting August, but it's like the first 3 weeks with everyone, I think's online.
It's still online. Yeah, that's what
So-
that's the latest that I've heard too. So we'll see.
It changes all the time. So I
Right.
like give up on trying to figure out what's going on, like when they're actually going to be face to face with the teacher at school.
Right.
Because I do feel like,
They need that.
yes.
Yeah, it's very important, and even just being around other kids.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm not saying that the current situation is, I'm not making light of it. It's just, I feel like for kids, they need to still have their childhood, and we need to do the best thing, the best way we can navigate that this
Experience
whole,
for them. Yes,
exactly. Because I
absolutely.
feel like they're the ones that are suffering the most. You and I can wear masks. We can,
And we understand,
yeah.
but they're still having a hard time comprehending. Because even my kids this morning, they're like, "So when's COVID gonna go away?" And I'm like, what's the right answer
Yeah.
to that? I'm not sure.
Well, and then trying to tell them like, oh, you can't go to the park. Oh, you
Yeah.
can't go to the playground. It was,
Yeah, it's hard for them.
yeah.
Yeah, my oldest, we were at the grocery store the other day. She's like, "Mom, da na na na, da na da na, don't touch that." Da. Like she was like, she made a little song. She's like, "You and Dad always don't touch that, don't touch that." And I'm like,
Oh my
"Well, sorry
God.
guys, we're trying to keep you safe," but they understand as much as they can at their age.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. So you're just like, I mean, that's all we can do is get them to understand it and do all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I get it. It's just, it's a nonstop situation. How is it with being a mom, opening up a business and doing all that? How did that even start with your idea and then having to roll it all out?
I feel like everything plays a role, right, to get you to where you're at. And like I had mentioned, they had these Medicaid cuts that it was going to be tough for me to be able to keep, our home and things like that if I would have had they would have reduced my salary at the time with the company I was with. So I was always kind of looking to make, things a little bit better.
Yeah.
A lot of my competitors here, their back-end office is paperwork that's funneled out of town. So, they'll have the 915 number, but really it gets routed to Dallas or Houston or San Antonio. And not to say that it's not good, but it's, does Dallas really care about El Paso? Does Houston? And if that's their hub, really that's the baby. So I felt like there was a lot of times that my kids were, they didn't get this paperwork in on time. There was a delay. And like you had mentioned earlier too, the kids with autism, they need consistency. So it was hard. Some things are going to be out of your control. Like, okay, you have to wait for insurance authorization, things like that. But, the fax didn't go through and you don't know because it's in a different city. Like, to me, that was kind of unacceptable. So all of my back-end office stuff is done here. So, the billing, the referrals, the authorization. So if there's a problem, I'm able to go fix it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
If we're missing a signature from a physician in order to get it to the insurance, hey, we can go knock on the door and be like, here we have this paperwork. It's been 2 weeks and we're still waiting. Can we get the signature and then push it along? So, I really wanted to make sure that we could, tighten the reins on things like that are in our control to be able to provide a better service to the community.
And it makes sense too, because if you're saying, hey, I sent you guys an email or I faxed it over, and now you're able to have logs of everything.
Absolutely,
that's going
yeah,
on.
and then e-fax and things like that. It's great when I do have some people working remotely. So
That's awesome. And so when you started it, how old were your kids?
Gosh, so they were 3 and 4.
Oh my God.
I know. So I had this thought and this idea, and I just ran. And I mean, the first couple of years, it was like 8 to 8.
Yeah.
Being a pediatric therapist, your prime hours are after school. So, it's 3 o'clock. So, I mean, 3 to 8, you're working. And that's all I've kind of known until this last year that I'm like, wow, I turned the corner.
Yeah.
And my goal was always to be able to pick up my kids from school. And so I was able to obtain that this year. So it was, I mean, like the first.
No, it's huge.
Yeah, it was huge because it's like, okay, I can now not only take you, I can pick you up. And they're like, okay, well, but tomorrow, like, grandma's gonna pick. I'm like, no, like,
Mom,
like I can do it. I was like, I'll still be working, so I have to answer calls and things like that, but I'm able to get you guys from school now. So it was, I mean, being a mom is obviously the most important role in my life, and second is my role as a therapist.
Yeah, it's that's a huge deal because you're able to still, be working and doing all that, but you can still be there. It's a huge deal to be able to do that, like to have that freedom to to be able to say, hey, if they're sick, I can go, or whatever they show or whatever they have going on, you can go to all that stuff.
Yeah, and even my office, I feel like we are a very out of the box kind of organization. So, it's not you have to be here right at 8 o'clock. I mean, you're here at 8:05, 8:10, like stuff happens.
Yeah.
And if your kids are sick, obviously, like I'm very understanding because I feel like family comes first. And there's been many times that my kids are sick, and I'm like, all right, well, come with me to the office. You know? I got to go back to work, but here's the couch, hang out, till we're done.
For sure. I think that I'm sure your employees love that too.
They do, because I think being flexibility is so important, and I understand it.
Yeah.
As being a single mother, it's like I don't know. It'd be really hard to do an 8 to 5 with, 30-minute lunch or whatever the standards are.
Oh yeah, to be able to do all that. Heck no, you're going crazy.
Right.
And what advice would you give to anyone that's looking to open up their own business?
Well, it's such a learning process. I mean, I'm really the first person in my family to open a business.
Yeah.
So there was, obviously I did as much research as I could beforehand, but there's always things that you're going to run into that you don't anticipate, and costs. I mean, you're okay, like if I have X amount of money, I'll be fine. And then once that runs out, you're like, oh, like I didn't realize that this was going to be more, or I was going to need to get this other insurance, or so. I think it's just looking at every obstacle and just problem solving. I mean, that's probably the biggest part of being a business owner is you got to be able to problem solve and figure out, just creative solutions to things that you're going to come across.
What do you wish with all those struggles that you would have known before you opened?
Well, I would say one of my biggest hurdles was becoming credentialed with the insurances.
Really?
Yes. So it was, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to put my application in.
Yeah.
You guys are going to approve me like, I don't know, in a week, a month. I mean, some of them took me like 9 months. So as you can imagine, like I have a budget, I had, my savings, I had all these ideas, and I'm like, well, okay, like when am I going to get that contract? A lot of the kiddos here, have like the Paso Health and Superior and things like that. And you're kind of fish out of water if you're not a provider with them.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So and you can always do self-pay, but, self-pay can, add up for a family. So I try to, price lower than most of the competitors just because that expense is, big on anybody.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that with like applying with the health, because of course, because health insurance takes a while to get anything passed out. So I can only imagine to get all the credentials and everything. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's different from when you go from working for somebody, because when you go working for somebody, you don't know taxes, you don't know overhead.
No. And all of a sudden you're
you're
an accountant, and then you're a therapist, and then you're a manager, and so. And it's much different when
the roles are reversed.
Yeah, I mean, because I was a director with my previous company, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to hire, and this is fine, and that amount's great. And then now when it's like you're paying out, it's like, whoa, okay, that did hurt a little bit.
I'm paying the bill.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so are your kids going to work with you right now, and how?
They
does it-
are.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, they are. So, what I try to do is limit their technology time.
It's
I
so
mean,
hard.
It's hard, especially like when I have back-to-back telehealth sessions, and I'm like, don't even come in and ask me to open your water bottles, you know. But
Yeah.
I did realize recently I'm not like very techy, because in my head I was like, okay, give me your iPhones, and I'm gonna put a time limit. You know, you're gonna have 2-3 hours a day. And I started noticing, I'm like, gosh, we're at the office a long time, and they're still on their phone. It's weird. So weeks later, I'm like, let me see your phone. And I'm like, have you guys, because I was looking at their screen time, you know,
Yeah.
like Sunday it'll pop up like, your screen time is, you know,
I got
ABC.
rid of that because I don't even want to know.
Yeah, and then I was like, 5 hours. And I'm like, how'd you guys do that? Oh, Mom, there's a button that comes up, it says ignore for the day, and that's what we put. I'm like, so
like,
there I was
"Her."
YouTubing. I'm like, how do I really put a time limit for my children and they can't
Yeah.
override it? Because the kids are so smart with technology.
They are.
And I'm
They
like,
are.
here
My
I
son's
was-
3, and he already.
He knows how to navigate an iPad, I'm sure, an iPhone, and everything.
Well, like that's why I have him at Emmanuel, and he goes to the camp over there.
Yeah.
He goes through withdrawals because right when he sees me, he's like, "Oh, hi, Mom, how's it going?" And then he's like, "Mom's phone.
Where's Mom's phone?"
Where's
Yeah.
Mom's phone?" And then like I'll have everything, and he knows how to navigate through my whole phone. Not Dad's phone. It's always
Mom's phone. Yeah, you
Yeah.
probably have all the fun stuff on there, right?
I guess. And he just knows how to do it. But it's so funny because, like, he locked it, what was it, 2 weeks ago. I was out and he had my phone. And then I dropped him off and everything. Long story short, he locked it to where I could see who was calling me, but I wasn't able to answer the phone. So that day I just had all these people calling me, and I was like already like getting anxiety because I'm
like,
not able to
I
answer
have like
the
17
phone.
missed calls.
Yes, and then I had to go to Verizon, and then with
Yeah.
the COVID stuff, it was a hot mess. And I'm like, this little turd
Yeah.
just messed up my phone. But it's crazy how they get the technology so
They
fast.
do. And then, like, just be aware if you have your credit card synced to, like, your app. Yeah. I've had the, like, $80 on, like, apps, and I'm like, $80? Like, it was on my American Express, and I'm like, so I was able to, they're really good. You can click a little link, and it'll tell you exactly what was purchased, and I'm like, it was like a game, another game, Bedazzle this, and Barbie
Bedazzle
that, and
that.
I'm like, you two, come here, you know? And they're like, it wasn't me, Mom. And then my youngest, she's so cute because she can't lie. She's like, Mom, maybe it was me. But it's because I thought it was free. And I'm like, honey, they all start out free. But if you click, like, you know, expand or new lives or whatever it is, I was like, Trish, like, I'm so sorry, Mom. Do you want me to do a chore?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that's so sweet.
But yeah, I've heard some horror stories with kids that, you know, purchase
Or Amazon.
things that they shouldn't have purchased.
I heard horror stories with Amazon that
Yes.
they, one of my friends, their kid, like was a little bit older, not too old, but like I'd say like 10 or 11, and they realized that the Amazon, you could order everything on Amazon, and then they started getting all these boxes. She's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Luckily, they were able to
was like
send
Christmas
them
in
back.
July.
Yeah, and she was like, what the hell? I never ordered this.
Yeah.
Well, her husband got mad. And then she was like, well, I didn't order all this stuff. And then they figured out it was the son $500 later. And so she was like, this little turd.
I know. Just, it's amazing how everything's synced, you know?
Yeah.
You can ask Alexa, where's my Amazon package? Oh, it's en route.
And he knows that too. Like, he knows
Yeah.
all the Alexa and stuff. So I'm always like, it's just crazy how fast they do it. But with the screen time, it's so hard to not have them on it. I used to be, like I said before, I was a mom. I used to be like the typical one that's like, my kid's gonna eat nutritious things.
Yeah, I'm gonna make everything from scratch.
Yeah, limited screen time.
Yeah.
Now it's just.
And then
not
it makes
like
you
that.
wonder, like, what our grandparents did and our parents have for technology.
I have no idea what they did. Well, and I think too that they didn't have cell phones, so when they left work, it was just done, and they didn't have email.
And
you
now
know?
it's not. I mean, it's like almost every industry you're hearing of, I have a work call and it's 6 p.m., it's 7 p.m., I guess we're just so accessible now.
Yeah, and that's the other reason I don't have the Apple Watch, because like when I get home, I try to put my phone away a little bit to be with the kids. So I'm like, if I had that, I would literally be like that the whole time.
Yeah, I went on airplane mode when we sat down. I'm like, I don't want to be stressed, and then like my phone's going off.
It's like an anxiety when you miss like.
Or even those little notifications on your eye. Yeah, I'm like, go away, go away.
You're
I cleared
like,
you
I
out.
will get to you when it's done. Yeah. So it's just always something crazy. what advice would you have for like moms that want to start a business that are in your situation, that they have kids, they don't know where to even start, or they do know, but what would be your advice for that?
Well, I would say for them to do something that's their passion. I
Yeah.
mean, when you're doing something that you love, it's not really work. And so for me at the very beginning, and even now, it's very easy. I can kind of throw myself and lose track of time.
Yeah.
Because I love what I do. So I would just say find something that you love, and then, find a niche.
Yeah.
If whatever the product is or the service is already out there, figure out a way to make it better. I think sometimes, an easy way to kind of outbeat some people is just your customer service skills.
Yeah.
I mean, treat everybody like, even though I've seen maybe, hundreds of kids with autism, if I were to come into your house and your child has autism, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh yeah, I already know that. And this, I mean, it's
Yeah.
your bedside manner too, and you have to listen. I think that's kind of a lost art too. A lot of people are just so quick. The
Yeah.
technology makes you faster and your brain's moving so fast, but you got to really sit and listen to other people's needs and concerns.
Yeah, no, I agree. We have because we have our sales staff that they're awesome, but with some of the guys, especially the guys, and I'm sorry, but they just want a quick sale and they want to text somebody and be like, hey, do you need insurance? Do you want insurance? And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
you need to pick up the phone and you need to call them, because if they're a parent or if you need to build that relationship.
You have to have a connection with people.
Yes.
Because outside of what you guys do, what I do, we're still people. And
Yeah.
you like that connection. You want to be able to see somebody and remember their name. Something
Yeah.
as easy as like, hey, John, hey, Sarah,
Yeah.
I remember meeting you a couple weeks ago. It's a big deal because a lot of people
Yeah.
just don't even catch the first name. So
Well, and then it's so that's what I tell them all the time. I'm like, you have to call people, because even though, let's say you might close, you might get that insurance client over text, just as fast as you got the deal is as fast as they're going to drop you, because they're going to be like, well,
Yeah.
my friend is now an insurance agent and they can give me a cheaper rate, but you didn't explain why the rate's this way, or you never built that connection. So
and once you have a connection, it's like loyalty.
yeah,
I mean, also with even banking,
Yeah.
I know when I started looking for a bank for the company, it was like I went to several places and I went to some of the big guys, like
Yeah.
the more, and which could be convenient when I'm out of town and I need to get stuff, but I ended up going with somebody local because the second time around it was, hi, Miss Yagl, how are you? And I'm like, oh, like this is my second time here. Like you remembered my name?
yeah.
And that was important to me because I didn't feel like I was just another number. I
Yeah.
was a person.
No, it is true, and I feel like in any industry, if you're wanting to build a book of business, relationships are such a huge deal, and you never know when you're going to see that person again that you helped the kids later on,
Right.
that they're like, oh my gosh, you did so well, you helped me out so much.
Right, and that's even with therapies. It's like you build that relationship with the kids, and going into the homes, it's very personal.
Oh,
like
yeah.
we meet the abuela, we know the tío, we know the sister. We go in there, and I love home health because we see the environment and we're able to adapt, we're able to modify. Having really nice equipment at a clinic would also be helpful, but it's nice to modify and they can use the stuff that they have every day.
Well, it's real life.
Yes.
Like that's the good part about doing the home stuff, is that you're able to say, hey, this is where
This is what we have. Yeah.
This is what we have to deal with, instead of telling them, okay, you're gonna have to
Right.
buy all this crap, and then they don't know how to do certain things, and you're just like, that is a really big benefit to that.
Right, and then even just some of the families, transportation can be challenging for them.
That's true.
Or, it's the summer, we have blazing summers. I don't have air conditioning and they have other kids. I mean, how are they going to come to the clinic? There's a lot of barriers for them, and you going to them, I would say, I've been doing home health for about 7 years now, and I've had, less than 10 people like do a no-show, or I get there and they're not there, and it's because, hey, my kiddo had a seizure at 3 a.m, I completely forgot
Yeah.
about you, or there's like extenuating circumstances. It's not a consistent,
That they just
you going
forgot.
to them is
Yeah.
consistent,
Yeah.
so it's really out of the norm when they're not there, they stand you up. They're actually very grateful that you're coming to them and providing the service.
Oh, for sure. I
Yeah.
bet they really appreciate that too. So for the kids that you have, what age range do you guys?
Well, we do babies.
Aw.
No babies. We don't get them very often because all the ECI people hog them, but we do get occasional babies. And then we go up to 21.
Aw.
So it just depends. I mean, some of the insurances right around 20, they start moving the kids to adult. So we kind of keep an eye on some of our older tykes, but
Yeah.
they're still my babies.
Oh.
I've had a couple that recently are aging out, and I'm like, you know, even the parents are like, no. I'm like, okay, I don't, like, we've been kind of trying to find
Yes.
relationships with other, like, home health agencies so we can kind of put them in good hands, you know?
Yeah. Well, and then you can say like, this is my friend. I can-
Yes, yeah. So that's probably the hardest part is, you know, or even just like the discharges, it's like a happy, sad, you know, it's like, we're happy
Yeah.
that you've met your goals, but it's sad because you become a part of their family, an extension.
Oh. And what did you bring from Dallas that you learned so much over there here?
I would just say different techniques.
Yeah.
You know, Dallas obviously is a little more progressive.
Yeah.
So some of the styles of treatment that they did out there, my first couple of years, I was able to kind of bring them into El Paso. You know, now I haven't been back there in so long. But,
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it's just keeping up with all the new trends, and I try to do like our association usually has we have like a Texas conference, and then we have a national conference. So earlier this year we had one in Florida, and it was for pediatrics. So it was nice to go and kind of just like get
Yeah.
like, I mean, because everybody just has different views on things and things that they do. So it's like something we're doing here in El Paso, somebody in Chicago's doing the same thing, but in a different way. So it's nice to kind of collaborate with fellow
That's how I feel
therapists.
about the technology.
Yeah.
I think El Paso will get, there's certain things that they do in the bigger city, like whenever they do, I don't know, like social media and stuff, it's a lot bigger in those areas. But here, it's not, it's big, but it's not there yet, you know?
Right.
And I feel like with it just always happens like that in El Paso.
But you know, we're getting there. I think
We are.
We're really turning the corner.
Well, you saw Amazon,
I did, yeah.
so they'll be here,
Yeah.
and same day service, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm sure all our male people are gonna be super happy with
I
us.
know.
You know.
And my husband too. He's gonna be
Yeah.
like, no.
I
You gotta
remember
get
those
cut
days when I was married and I'd go buy 3 pairs of shoes and I had to like put them all in one shoebox. Now I walk in with 3 bags.
You're like, no, I don't have to.
Me and the kids.
You're
Just
like,
have some perks, you know.
you're like, it worked out
Yeah,
perfect.
it did. For my shopping habits.
You're like, it works out. No, I need him to like stop me.
Yeah. You have to have a cutoff. Huh?
Yeah, I need that. It's a good
You need
balance.
You need a like red alert.
Yeah, exactly. Because if not, then I don't see a red alert at all. So with the kids and everything, how do you keep them entertained? Besides that pad, how do you keep them entertained with everything?
Well, you know, being a pediatric therapist,
Oh,
I
that's
have.
true. You're like, I got all the tricks of the
I have
trade.
all the toys, but the most amazing part was, you know, the first, 2 years of their life, they didn't realize what I did.
Yeah.
And then they started one day, I mean, because my trunk and the backseat used to be like all my therapy stuff when I was going into the homes. They're like, Mom, you have a lot of toys. Did you buy us toys today? And I'm like, no, like, Mommy uses those toys. Like,
Yeah.
I work with those. Wait, but you play? But I thought you worked. And I'm like,
You're like,
it's like play work. I was like, baby, I like discovered the magic of being an adult. You
Yeah.
know, like I get paid to play. And they're like, really? I'm like, kind of.
yeah.
They're like, okay, but the only downfall with, I mean, kids, their primary occupation is play.
Yeah.
So for some families, you really have to educate us to, you know, they'll see what you're doing. They're like, well, I can do that.
Yeah.
Like, why are you here? Like, you know, it doesn't seem like you're doing anything. But the example I always give is I had a kiddo that she had weakness in her arms.
Uh-huh.
And so she loved to color. Okay, so as a mom or, you know, you're not really, you know, thinking of, well, how can I strengthen her arms? So
Yeah.
you bring the table, she colors, you know, there's no problem.
Yeah.
But me as a therapist, like I would come in and I would modify, be like, hey, okay, like let's lay on her belly and you're gonna lean and we're gonna color. So we're weight bearing
Yeah.
as we're doing the activity that she enjoys because young kids aren't gonna sit there and do exercises per se. So you have
Yeah.
to be really creative in the way you play with them.
I didn't even think, but that's true because she's building up her strength. But you can't
Yes.
just be like,
I can't be like, hey, like here, do these dumbbells. I mean,
Yeah,
with the kids,
no.
you have to
Be
be creative, and their primary occupations play. So I have a ton of toys. I mean, it's like I have toys in my garage, I have toys in my laundry room, I have toys everywhere.
so you're like, here you go.
And then now that I'm doing telehealth, like the kids are really getting a better idea of what I do, and so they're like, Mom, are you going to use your Play-Doh or can we use your Play-Doh? I'm like, no, don't touch my Play-Doh.
Well, then the Play-Doh makes a mess. It's all over.
It does. So it's like, I love like giving Play-Doh to other kids, but I hate it at my house.
No, I'm like,
True confession.
My kid, like, of course, it'll get stuck in the carpet. It gets everywhere.
How
when
about
it's rinsed
slime?
out.
Have you guys have you gone to slime yet?
No, I probably the grandparents have, but I'm like, no.
That's even worse. So.
Oh God, no.
Forewarning.
They got him that kinetic sand, and I was like,
oh yeah, that's a hot mess too.
I said, do not put that in my house, because it's like, no.
And then as occupational therapists, we do a lot of sensory stuff because a lot of kids have like aversions to different textures.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of stuff with like rice bins and sand and kinetic sand, Play-Doh, slime. Yeah.
I mean, it's great for them, but right now they can't, like, it's so hot right now. It can't be outside, so I'm like, no.
Yeah. So no, I have a pretty much a toy box at the office, and so they do puzzles and they do a lot of developmental stuff.
So how do you also balance like your personal life with everything too?
I have no personal life.
You're like,
I'm like, just don't mess with my sleep or my showers, guys. No, I mean, my kid's dad he's really involved with them, so we're usually on a schedule where every other weekend he takes them.
Oh, that's
so really that's like my downtime to catch up on work stuff, the house, and then I love to travel.
I know.
So I travel quite a bit.
It's just this kind of took like this
It took a spin, although I have been kind of branching out a little bit. I've done a little bit of travel, but it's just...
Where have you gone recently?
I went to Breckenridge, Colorado, like 2 weeks ago.
How was that?
Just to get out of the heat. It was awesome. It was like 65 degrees. And
oh my gosh.
But it's just such a different flying experience because you get to the airport, you're in your mask. You get on the plane, and sometimes the planes, the AC is not on, so it's like super hot, and you're wearing your mask. So now you're sitting there wearing your mask, like moving that little thing, hoping that the air shoots out, and sometimes it doesn't till you're up in the air. So, and then some of the flights are kind of limited, like places that you would go nonstop, or you gotta stop in Phoenix, you gotta stop in Dallas, and then you gotta wear your mask there too. So by the time you look at the whole travel time, it's like 6-7 hours of wearing your mask, which I don't want to complain, because I know there's a lot of people that work 8 hours and they have to have their mask. I'm not used to it, so that's been hard to adjust to.
Well, I haven't done the flying yet with all that stuff. So that's why I was asking. I was like, how, and one of my friends was saying the same thing. Like, we used to be able to get a lot of direct flights. Well, now they change stuff because they have to have
like, I guess, like capacity, but not, because a lot of the flights, they don't still sit the middle seat. Yeah. So I guess for spacing.
Which I will say, I'm not.
No one's really fond of the seats. I'm not sure we all kind of miss it, but but it does limit. I mean, I guess the flights fill up a lot faster.
Yeah. So I was like, that's why I was asking. I'm like, so how was that? Well, and this Colorado, did they make you wear masks and stuff too?
They did. Yeah, they did. I mean, it's the same kind of like here.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know if you've flown to Denver, but the airport in Denver's a hot mess.
Really?
Yeah. So I felt safe here because I don't think a lot of people are traveling. So I was like, oh, this is like less people than going to Target or Walmart.
Like,
so it was like, we might be safer here. But then once we got to Denver, it's like planes, trains, and automobiles. You got to take the subway, and then you go up this escalator and down this other one. And it's like your little herd. And then there's people still like jumping into the train while it was like full. I'm like, go away, like social distancing. Like it was, people I guess just didn't have much regard for that. So.
Well, and then it's like international too. So it's like all that stuff going on. Were your kids with you or no?
They were.
Oh my god.
So I had flown twice before I actually flew with them.
Yeah.
But my kids, we're so used to traveling that my kids were like, Mom, like we miss it. Like where are we going? What are we gonna do? And I've just been trying to keep them busy. Yeah,
that's what you have to do. Did they do with the whole mask one?
They did pretty good. Obviously, like I took some wipes on the plane and cleaned the arm handles and the tray, and we had our hand sanitizer. But my youngest is very snacky, so it's funny because I had a snap video of her because it was just so cute. Because I look over and she like pulls her mask and then sticks a Cheeto in and then and I'm like, make sure you don't touch anything that I didn't clean. I know, Mom. I'm like, okay.
You're like, that
She's
works
like,
out.
I got this, but
Aww.
It's just so different.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's kind of going to be our norm. I don't know when this mask stuff is going to go.
I have no idea. I feel like it just changes on a daily basis. Yeah. I stopped even watching the news because I was getting so depressed with everything going on. So I was like, I just need to worry
Okay.
about my.
Yeah, and then you see like stuff like, oh, there's something else in China, and there's a squirrel with bubonic plague, and I'm like, guys,
And
can we
someone
talk
was
about
saying that
something
there
positive?
was this new illness that's out that's even worse.
I know.
And so I was like, okay, like,
I'm like, over. Can we just?
yeah. I'm
Can we
like,
move on?
for me, I'm not saying that it could never happen to me. I'm just saying that my life can't stop. My bills don't stop just because
Right.
I'm afraid or just because I'm
Right.
like, my life has to go on, you know?
Right. And I think I've been more, I mean, obviously being in healthcare, like hand sanitizing and washing my hands 100 times a day has been my norm.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how my kids are too. Or, you know, we've already had
Had-
that habit
yeah.
established before COVID. So, you know, we're a little more cautious, you know, where I'm like cleaning stuff and wiping stuff down. But I feel like we have to live too. You
Yeah.
know, like it's, I mean, it's everywhere. So
We
I
just
mean,
gotta,
you just gotta be safe as
Yeah.
you can be, you know?
and it's just not gonna, it's not gonna end. So let's like figure out the new norm, you know,
Right.
instead of just, you can't halt everything. So
Right.
that was probably my main issues when everything was like locked down, because it's like, you've got people that need to work, unemployment, like kids at
Right.
home. It's just so many stresses for all these people, and it's tough right now for a lot of people. So that's what I try to tell everyone. For me, as much as like I know what's going on, I try not to. I can't dwell on it because I mean, my life has to continue.
Right, right, absolutely.
So for parents that you know, they might have concerns about development with children, what do you always recommend to them?
Obviously, to voice their concerns when they go see their physician. You know, we try not to, you know, overstep our boundaries because I mean we do have to get the referrals from the physicians, but definitely if you see something, you know, don't be afraid to ask. I mean,
Yeah.
even if we went out there and did an evaluation, and the kiddo didn't qualify, at least you know you have your mind at ease.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Maybe we do see something and your kiddo's in therapy for 3 months or 6 months or whatever it is, and we get him to where he's at. It's better than you waiting and waiting like years and years, and then things compounded, and then we have a lot of things to break, you know, a lot of maybe bad habits and things like that. So I think the younger they are, sometimes it's a lot easier than when we get kiddos that are older.
That's what I hear, because like
Yeah.
they say too with like autism, for example, the younger you are to find all that stuff out.
Right. You build their routines, you build their habits, you see what their triggers are. So it's a lot easier when they're younger. And even the trainings for the parents.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, you have to modify some things. And, you know, I have some parents too that it's like, oh, we don't go out because, you know, my kiddo has outbursts, or
Yeah.
we feel like people are going to say or think. And unfortunately, we do sometimes live in a society that is quick to judge, and you don't really know, you know, what's really happening
Yeah.
with the child.
Exactly.
So,
So that's true, because and then there's different
I mean, there's
levels.
behavior and then there's
Oh
disability.
yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, but you're not gonna know if you're at Target and you see a screaming kid. Sometimes people are just like,
Ugh, like,
You
take your
know.
kid out, yeah.
and they don't understand that everyone has their different things going on. That's why I tell people, you just gotta mind your own business and stick to what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Just, yeah, exactly. And just be
And-
respectful.
yeah,
like,
empathize,
we're all going through something, you know, and I think it just, like, be kind,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, because there's different stages. How do you guys stage autism, or how does that work with?
Well,
Because I don't know anything about like the medical field or anything. So you're talking
Okay.
to someone that is clueless about.
so typically, we do have 2 physicians that specialize in, like, in diagnosing the kiddos with autism. I don't want to say there's severities, of course, you know,
Yeah.
but as a therapist, when we go in, we look at functionality. You know, is the kiddo able to do basic, we call them ADLs, so it's activities of daily living. Are they able to, you know, groom? Are they able to wash their hands? Are they able to brush their teeth? They're not able to brush their teeth. Why? Is it, you know, they're being resistant, it's behavioral, they don't like the texture of the brush in their mouth. So there's a lot of things you kind of have to dissect, and it's a lot of problem solving. We look at dressing, like, is the kiddo able to manipulate fasteners? Like, it's cold, can the kiddo zip his jacket, you know, at 6? Like, we're kind of, you know, expecting a kiddo to be able to do things like that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we kind of go in and we look at all the basic things that the kiddo needs to be independent.
Yeah.
So if we establish those, then it's like as they grow, you're also putting less of a burden on the caregiver, on the parent.
Yeah.
Because the kiddo's independent. So that's what our goal is.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize that's like how that all went down.
Mm-hmm.
So what's something that people don't know about you?
Something people don't know about me. Recently, I started taking classes to be a pilot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love to fly, and I've always been fascinated, and I've always been very medically driven.
Yeah.
Like anatomy-wise, and physics has always been kind of challenging for me, but I'm fascinated with flying. So I thought I'd challenge myself, and I've been taking classes online to learn how to fly like the little private planes.
Yeah.
It's been hard, just because obviously I feel like I'm starting from nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
But my goal is maybe by December to be able to start doing like the in-flight trainings.
So how does that even how does that even work? Or how did you even like say, hey, this is what I'm gonna do?
I have a friend that has a couple of small planes, private planes, and I've flown with him, and it's always been fascinating. And I'm like, and I didn't think about it at the time, but I'm like, gosh, well, what if something would have happened to him? And I'm like up there. So he like kind of just recommended some online classes to take, and it's good because it's almost like your like online pilot classes for dummies, So it's like talk to me very, like you said, like you don't know a lot of stuff with medical. Like for me, it's the same way. I'm like, oh, I know nothing. So it's been very like, here's this part of the plane, here's just very basics.
That's awesome. And you're not scared to do all that? So you're crazy.
I know, no. I just, it's always been kind of on my bucket list. So I'm like, now that, I don't say things are kind of calm, but I feel like I have a little bit more time because I'm not, rushing around, driving around, and doing things like that. I find like I have a little bit of extra time, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you want? What's your end goal with that? Just to be able to fly wherever you want to go, or
maybe just like rent, like little private planes and be able to fly every once in a while. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can fly me out.
I know. Like, I will need a first airplane passenger. No drinks though.
no drinking there, but that's awesome.
Yep.
I'm like, that works out great. Well, the good part about that though is you don't have to mess with like the TSA and all that stuff.
I know. No.
I've never done the private plane, so I don't know. I'm not on that level.
Yeah. No, it's like a separate part of the airport. So.
Oh. Yeah. Like, now you're getting me all interested in that.
Yeah.
It's an expensive hobby, no?
I'm not there yet. Like
Okay.
the online classes were a couple $100, but
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm sure once I have to like do the in-flight, like that's going to be a little bit more. So I'm kind of saving. Now that I can't really go anywhere or do a whole lot.
So you're like, it works out. Works out for sure. So what did you guys do in Breckenridge?
We went up to one of the peaks, and they have like little obstacle courses and slides, and the gondolas are going and things like that. Went biking. Food. They have a really nice little town.
Yeah.
And I guess they're not letting people sit inside in the restaurants, so the main strip, what the restaurants have done is they've moved all their tables to the street.
Yeah.
And then they have like tents and stuff and canopies, so there's always a lot going on. Like they have like crepes, and they have live music and things like that.
Well, it's just such a beautiful city. Like,
absolutely.
Just because I feel like Colorado in general, you have the cold, you have the hot. They have all 4 seasons, and then you're able to do a lot over there, and it's very picturesque. And my husband loves it up. Do you ski or no?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I do. Although we got cut short this season, but that's kind of like my happy place.
Oh my
I
God.
love to ski.
See, I'm horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like great, like I can.
Yeah.
I'm not like one of those big diamond skiers. I mean, I started skiing as an adult, so I feel like when you learn as a kid, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
And then now as an adult, you're like, oh, I don't want to like break a hip or.
Yeah, well, and you're closer to the ground too.
Yeah,
I feel like
so
if you fall as a kid, you're like this high, where it's like, it's just we're a lot older.
Yes, and now like you can like break something, and as a kid, you're not really thinking you're gonna break something. So
no, and my husband, they did it when he started when they were young, and he does like double blacks.
I'm sure.
And I'm like, hell no.
Like, I'll do the bunny slope. I'll do the little magic carpet.
I'm like, the outfits are cute. I'm like, I'm not doing it. And then he's like, he'll even like, the last time we went, his parents were like, you should try it. And he's just like, no, I'm not even going to go there because I don't want us like fighting in the middle of the of the slope or something because he's trying to push me. And then I'm super clumsy. I can't do that.
Yeah, I know when I started, I was like, I need to do a class. Like, same thing. Like, I had some friends with me, and they're really good skiers, and I'm like, I think you guys are gonna annoy me, so let me just do a class and like learn like from the bottom up. You know,
because you're just like they want to push you, but then at the same time, you're like, I've never done this. It's freaky and everything. I've done it like I'd say like 3 times, and then that was it.
Where did you guys ski?
I went. The first time I went skiing was Park City when they had the Winter Olympics over there. It was beautiful. It was nice, but I got too confident in myself, and then at the time I was younger.
You didn't do pizza?
Well, I tried, and then I didn't see like my I was like, say 12 or 13. It was like that awkward phase where I needed glasses, but I didn't want to do that because it's not cool.
Yeah.
So I like clothesline a rope, and I didn't see it, and my nose went right in that, and I almost broke my nose.
Yeah, I was say you're lucky you didn't break your nose.
So they had like the technique guys and everything. Like it was
You
horrible.
had the red stretcher go
Yes,
there.
it was horrible. So that was one time, and then the other time I fell off the ski lift.
You're kidding.
Yeah. Luckily it wasn't high. I just was like literally went face first.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, no one does this stuff.
And you still want to ski? Those are pretty horrific
Yeah,
accidents.
no, I didn't want. No, that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want. Now I'm just like, hell no. The next time I go, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like I'll break something for sure. So that's why I'm just like, no.
Yeah, I just do little baby ones, and then they have like these little like places you can eat
And I hate being cold.
really.
Yeah, I'm like, no. I'll be at the spa. I'll be drinking at the bar. Like I'm just like,
You're a desert rat.
Yeah, I'm just like, well, because when I went to school in Indiana, they had I went there because of the Four Seasons, because I had gotten accepted into Pepperdine. Why I didn't go to Malibu is beyond me. I was like, but I wanted to go to Indiana, to St. Mary's up there, because it had the Four Seasons. I could do the snow. After that, I was like, I'm done, because people don't prepare you for in
like
those
the
areas.
blistering cold winters.
And it was snowing. One year, it snowed the first weekend of May. Yeah,
Wow.
And it's not a little. It's like
a downpour.
mountains, and driving, and having to get used. I was like, okay, I'm done. Yeah. So after that, I'm like, okay, I got my snow fix. I'm good with the fall's beautiful, but
it's just too much, and I can't imagine having to like go to work and having to shovel.
It adds like another hour to your morning.
Like your windshield, your driveway, like no.
Getting the kids all bundled up. It's like it's not an easy like way to live. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But I mean, it's beautiful, like the fall. And the other thing I don't like is like how long the winters are over there, because it was like
it's longer. Like here, like we have more like summer.
Yeah,
it's like hotter.
But it's like nine months of cold.
Okay.
So after that, I was like, no.
I'm good. Yeah.
I'm like,
at least you got it out of your system.
Yeah. I'm like, I got the.
And then without kids, because I think it would be a lot more challenging with kids.
It was challenging with me, hungover and all, and I was like, I can't do this. Like. I'm like, waking up.
I can't face plant in the snow.
Exactly. Like, I still have my eyelash like from the night like before, like rolling out of bed, still trying to go to class, and like getting my shovel out. I'm like, so I just remember at one point I had pulled my handle, and then the handle came off of my car because it was so cold.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like scraping it.
What do I do now?
Yeah. So it was like, and then of course, like I said, it's college days. So yeah, after that I was like, I can't do that.
Wow.
So my blood has definitely like thinned out comparison to all that. Because then after that I moved to Phoenix. I lived in Phoenix for a while. So
geez, so you're from one extreme to the other.
Oh yeah, I was like, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not doing it again. So what are like some of the things that you want to show your daughters with like your examples of running a business and everything? What are you?
I obviously want them to be strong, independent women. You never know what life's gonna, hand you, and I want them to be prepared as best as they can be.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm always gonna be in their corner and be there for them, but I want them to fly. I want them to, I had so many people 4 years ago, I had these ideas, right? And
Yeah.
people are looking at me like, you're crazy. Like, you're a single mom. Like,
Yeah.
what do you, like, that's very risky. And I remember at the time when I was like deciding on what, I was at the fork in the road,
Yeah.
And I had a state job that was offered to me with a really nice salary and benefits.
And
it seems
everyone
like,
wants that.
Yeah. And then I had what was in my heart, like, and it's been in my heart for years. And we're talking to my best friend. My best friend's like, you're crazy. Like, take the salary, take the benefits. And, you're a single mom. Like, what if it doesn't work? And I'm like, well, what if it does work?
Yeah.
What if it does work? So, I took obviously the path least traveled.
Yeah.
But even if, God forbid something happened tomorrow, I've learned so much and I've grown so much. And I've been very uncomfortable doing some things that I'm like, gosh, well, this isn't my expertise, or, I don't do these financial things, but I've learned. And so I think I wanted to show my kids that, they can do anything that they set their mind to do.
Yeah.
And I think as long as I always tell them, like, as long as you guys do something that you love.
Yeah.
My oldest, she's always told me she wanted to be a fashion designer. It's weird, since a
Yeah.
very young age. She's like,
Sometimes people.
she goes, I want to be a fashion designer. And then one day we were driving to work, and she says, Mom, why are the freeways, like, there's really nobody out? This is when, like, really,
Yeah.
like, everybody was, like, homebound and locked down and all that. I said, well, there's a lot of people. I said, there's, like, they're calling it essential and non-essential. And I said, so essential is, like, your healthcare people. Like, we still have to do our job, like, regardless of what's happening. Your non-essential people, they're people that we're, they're keeping them at home so that way they're not spreading the germs as much and things like that. And she's like, wait, but if I'm a fashion designer, am I essential? And I said, well, is mommy shopping right now? And then she's like, no. And she's like, well, and I said, well, let's think about that. So
Yeah.
I kind of throw it back at her. I'm like, let's think about that. So maybe you can, and she's like, well, I do like to help people. So maybe I can do something like you, like a doctor or maybe a therapist. She's like, but then I can make my fashion design my hobby. And I'm like, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So it's like,
But you start getting them to start doing the
yeah,
critical thinking
and
themselves.
she's even coming up with this
Yeah.
stuff like, wait, like, well, am I gonna get paid? Am I gonna
Yeah.
get home? Like,
Yeah.
am I gonna buy food?
That's true.
So I mean, I think I try to be real positive, and I feel like there's always a silver lining to everything that's happened.
Oh yeah, it's definitely for sure. So with the COVID, how are you how are you teaching your kids, or what are you telling your kids? Because they're older than mine. Mine don't know anything of what's going on. How are you navigating, or what do you recommend parents to do? Because you deal with more kids right now.
Well, I mean, it's just the hand washing. I mean, we go back to kind of our basics, right?
Yeah.
I have one of my therapists that created this really cute arts and crafts activity for the kids.
Uh-huh.
And she put, and it kind of moves, and it's like a hand, and then there's these germs that she put on one side, and it's like you have to like wipe away all the germs, but they like physically move it. And they're like, oh, we got to get rid of all those germs. So then, or my kids do like the ABC song, like, to make sure that they're washing their hands long enough and not just kind of shortening the, hey, we're done.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just a lot of hand washing.
Yeah. I feel like the one positive about this whole thing is that people are actually, washing their hands and doing all that stuff. Because I'd go to a restaurant and, like, let's say I'd go to the bathroom and somebody wouldn't wash their hands after the bathroom. I'm like, that's gross.
We used to see that a lot.
Oh.
Well, and even, I mean, and I don't want to say, talk bad about the way things were before,
Yeah.
but there's so many times I went to restaurants and it's like you like go into a booth and there's like crumbs and that the table wasn't cleaned the way it should have been cleaned. And now they're cleaning, and I'm like, not that, I'm not going to give you a gold star, but I'm like, this is kind of what.
But it was supposed to.
Yeah, it should have been like this.
The bathrooms too. They should
the
have been.
bathrooms too. Yeah.
I've never seen I had a realtor on Chastity a couple weeks ago, and she was like, I went to the Walmart bathroom. I've never seen it that clean in my life. And she's like, I have to go to the bathroom all the time, so I have to use the public restrooms. And she's like, I've never seen a public restroom that clean. And it's just like, yeah, that's what it should
But
have
it's
been.
weird. Like, you're almost like, this is what it should have been.
There's
but
that
gosh,
toilet paper still in
I
there.
was slumming it before.
Yeah.
Or you'd be like, hey, you have toilet paper over there?
Yeah. I've done that many
Yeah.
times, so it's just crazy how all that.
So like I said, I think there is like there's a
Silver
silver lining, like, things that should have already been in place. I think we all just kind of got lax with stuff, and
Yeah.
here we are. So
Now it's like, okay, now we have to actually, disinfect and do what we need to do. But
Right.
hopefully we'll see a light at the end of this COVID tunnel.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so for your services, you said, what's your website
It's
information?
yagltherapy.com.
Okay. And I want
And there's a link, like they can, if they want information, they could put their info.
Okay.
And then it comes like to one of the office staff members, and they'll get back to them pretty quick.
And we'll link it in the video so that
Okay.
way, like if whoever watches it wants that information,
Sure.
we can link it in there, and that way they can get a hold of you and Instagram and all that stuff too. So
Okay.
you'll be hunted down. But I want to say
Alright.
thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.